we have to admit that there were some logistic issues. Some were purely human, which we are trying to address. And let me just appeal to Nigerians, because I have noticed now that what Nigerians desire is a perfect election. And INEC will strive as much as possible to give this country the best election. However, we may not be able to achieve 100% perfect election for now. But as far as electronic transmission of results is concerned, I said it before FCT Area Council that we have the capacity to transmit the results, and that we're going to transmit the results. The only concern was real time. What is real time? For instance, if you use your app to make a transfer from your account, even in Abuja town, you are transferring 50,000 to Mr. B, and from your app, the amount has gone. But the person may not receive the alert until another 30 minutes, another hour, or even in the evening. So those are some of the things. And when you say it is real time, as soon as it is done, it must be received. So result management and logistics are two basic issues that from our own end, we are trying to see how best we are able to manage it very well, so as to enhance the transparency and credibility of the system.
Thank you so much, Prof. I really appreciate it. Can we please put our hands together?
Which by God's grace will not surface in Nigeria. And when I even look at the proviso to section 63 of the Electoral Act, during the last FCT election, apart from that delay, we didn't have any transmission failure. Meaning that it's just a proviso, a safety if it fails. And during my tenure, it will never fail. That is the determination. Yeah. If it fails, if it doesn't fail, then results, even if it fails, the result must be transmitted. But the only problem is if it fails to do real-time transmission, as we had in that word, that is the major problem. Yeah. Now, addressing about the glitch, election now anywhere is about technology. But before you deploy any technology, it is important for you to test that technology very well. So my own audit of the 2023 election is to the fact that while the device was tested within the state for Osun election, Ekiti election, however, when it came to the federal election, especially the presidential election, that now became interstate, it was not properly tested.
Manipulation. Now, these provisions are not abstract provisions of law. They shape who gets on the ballot, how results are transmitted, like Shepard mentioned previously. They also tell us how disputes are going to be resolved in the next election. In other words, they shape democratic legitimacy. That is why this town hall matters. It is a platform not for partisan applause lines. It is not a space for the very usual rehearsed political rhetoric. It is a citizen's forum. So we're here to interrogate the law, to identify the gaps and its strengths and confront those gaps, to ask whether the safeguards in the law are sufficient, and to demand clarity in implementation. Because laws do not protect democracy by their mere existence. They protect democracy only when they are implemented with integrity, with public scrutiny and oversight. And as we approach 2027, the credibility of that election will not just be determined on election day. It will be determined by a few things. One, the quality of preparations, the transparency of results management, the professionalism of election officials, how political actors restrain themselves, but more importantly, the independence and the integrity, of our security agencies and the judiciary. And lastly, the vigilance of citizens is what will determine, the credibility of the next election, because democracy is not self-executed, it requires guardians, and the citizens of this great country are the guardians that we need. So tonight, we invite you to engage boldly, ask hard questions, demand precision, and more importantly, reject ambiguity, and insist that electoral reform must serve the common good and not political convenience.